Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the Fulton County Democratic Party uh, County Committee and the Congressional District 5 training this evening. We are having a candidate and volunteer training. I am Chantel Mullen, and along with Maria Banjo, we serve as the Fulton County Dems co-counsels. Maria also serves as our Congressional District 5 chair. If you didn't know, campaigns and candidates are big targets. And so in this digital world, we thought it important to talk about how candidates and campaigns can be more secure. So we're going to get right to it. Tonight, we're joined by Michael Kaiser. He's the CEO of Defending Digital Campaigns. Michael has spent his career working to make the internet safer for individuals, organizations, and campaigns. Under his leadership, Defending Digital Campaigns has become a trusted resource for protecting campaigns of all sizes from cyber threats. He's here with us tonight to share some practical steps and some free tools that you can use right away to safeguard your accounts, your websites, and your campaign's digital presence. Please join me in welcoming Michael Kaiser. Good evening, Michael, and thank you for
Hey,
joining us.
thank you, Chantal. And it's nice to be here. Nice to see you. Nice to see all of you. I'm also joined tonight by Betty Fleming, who's going to help me with this training. Betty's our Director of Onboarding and Support. There she is. And she's going to help you learn some of these tools that we have. Let me just bring up my deck here. A couple things as we're getting started. Oh, it says sharing's not turned on. Can you turn on sharing for me?
We can do that.
Before we do that, just FYI to all you here, welcome. We're glad you're here. We have a presentation. We're going to do some demos, but we love your questions. So feel free to drop questions in the chat at any time, and Betty and I will try to answer them. If we can't answer them on the fly, excuse me, we will certainly take some time at the end, and we'll have Q&A at the end if you want to just hold your questions and ask them. Then that's fine with us too.
You should be able to share now.
I certainly can. Here we go. Okay. So let me just tell you a little bit about DDC and something that's very exciting that you may not all know. But we've been around since our first campaign cycle was 2020. We were approved by the Federal Election Commission to do something very special, which we can also have been approved to do in Georgia, which is we can take products from companies, cybersecurity products only, from companies, give them to campaigns, and they do not have to be reported as contributions. They are waived from campaign finance law. And this is because in your state, I believe it's an election commission, agreed that protecting campaigns is basically a security issue, a national security issue. So in Georgia, in order to access those free tools, and we'll talk about some of them tonight, but we'll be more general when we talk. Candidates, have certain fundraising level they've had to achieve, but they're pretty reasonable, right? 2,000 at the local level, 5,000 for a state ledge or state senate, and then 10,000 for a statewide office. And so we'll talk about some of those products tonight. If you're working on a campaign or you're a candidate, your best bet is just going to be to book a meeting or email Betty, and we'll give you her email and just set up a call, and she can go through everything with you. So we're nonpartisan, we're non-aligned. We've served more than 800 campaigns since we started, and we've given away more than $11 million in products. So as Chantel said, campaigns and people in this space are targets. So in cybersecurity, we like to think a lot about not everything that could happen. We're about risk management, right? We're about protecting against the things that actually might happen. And so when we look at the campaign space and the kinds of organizations that campaigns are, we look at stealing of credentials, trying to get into your accounts, no matter what they are. Your social media accounts, your shared cloud account. Probably most of you are, if you're a campaigner, an individual, you might be using Google or Microsoft, whatever it is, to get into those accounts, to steal your credentials to get in those accounts. Because once I own your account, there's just a lot I can do. Websites are highly targeted as well. In fact, in Georgia, you've had some issues around this. The Secretary of State's website was attacked on the last day of voter registration in 2024. No, it didn't go down, but it was heavily attacked. So you can see that there's a relationship between sort of the political moment and the kinds of nefarious activities that take place. Uh, Money gets stolen from campaigns and from people, but money gets stolen, around the world. People know that there's money in American politics, right? And why do they rob banks? Well, why do they rob campaigns? Because they know they can get the money, and they know that that frantic atmosphere of a campaign or in a political moment when people are, working 23 and a half hours a day and, just trying to get the work done and get the campaign done, that they might be more susceptible to like clicking on something that they shouldn't or doing something that they shouldn't. Phishing is the main source of how people get attacked. And just for a reminder that mistakes happen as well. Not every cyber incident involves, a nefarious actor, bad actor coming after you, targeting your campaign. Sometimes a volunteer or a staff member, someone on the campaign, just makes a mistake. They attach a spreadsheet to an email and send it to the wrong person, and out the door goes information, personal information about people that should have been protected. So, just want to make sure that there's a little balance in there. So the other thing that people in this space, and I'm talking about not just campaigns now, I'm talking about anyone who works in politics. You have to be aware that there are different kinds of bad actors out there and they have different motivations. Now, most of us, not, most people who are technology users uh, are mostly at risk of cyber criminals, right? You're shopping, you're banking, you're doing social media, you're doing whatever you do, but you're just a consumer, and cyber criminals, target everybody, and they're just trying to monetize crime, on the internet, right? So, they're, stealing credentials, they're getting into bank accounts, they're sending false invoices, they're doing whatever, they can do to kind of steal money from people. Now, if you're in the political space, you have to consider other potentially bad actors, including nation states and activists. So, nation states, obviously, most of us are aware that there are enemies of America, right? There are countries who, you know, don't want America to succeed. And they don't want our democracy to succeed. So they might be trying to disrupt our democracy. That's one thing, but they want to kind of maintain their own non-democratic system. And so by America not doing well, it bolsters the case for their own system. So you can, think who those kinds of bad actors are. North Korea, China, Russia, Iran, maybe some others. However, there's also espionage, right? And espionage, which is, could be committed by almost any country, even our friends, right? There's someone, kind of submit this person. There's someone in the waiting room. I'll just do that. They can conduct espionage, right? So, and you might think, well, why would they want to conduct espionage against me? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is, take the Chinese, for example. They're very adept at sort of collecting information about a lot of different people, and just building files and profiles of them. And so you're a political leader, you're an up and coming political leader, you're someone who might be on their radar, right? Of someone they want to know and know about. And they might, what do they want to know? They might want to know like how you think about their country. They might want to know how you think about issues happening nationally around public policy that you might somehow at some point be involved in. There may be investments being looking to be made in the state of Georgia, and they might want to know whether you would be in favor of investment by a foreign country in your district or in your state. So there's a lot of different reasons they might conduct espionage. And of course, espionage is a little more difficult because if I'm conducting espionage, the last thing I want you to know is that I'm in your system, right? I'm not going to want you to know I'm there because I'm going to want to keep collecting the information. And then there are activists. And activists are looking to disrupt for their own ends. They might be aligned with other people, like-minded people, but they're not part of like a nation state. They could be against you. They could be in favor of something that you're in favor of. They could be against our whole system. It's like they have whatever they have, whatever they believe in. They are the kinds of folks that might do the more obvious disruption, especially like website defacements and things like that. There was a recent example of the Arizona Secretary of State. I don't know if anybody saw this one. They had a portal, candidate portal, that got compromised. It was like not connected to their financial reporting. Also, it was like hung out somewhere else. But candidates, put little profiles in there with their pictures, and they went in and removed a bunch of the candidates' pictures and put in pictures of the Ayatollah from Iran. Okay, not going to change, it's not earth shattering, not going to change the world, but an example of the kind of, maybe less impactful stuff a hacktivist they could do. They could do much more, but they're making a point, right? I don't know what point they were making, whether they were pro Iran or it doesn't, I don't know, but they're trying to make a point, right? Somewhere along the way there. So you need to understand those bad actors because at the end of the day, in this space, people, meaning you, are the target. And so you, all of you, whether you're working on a campaign, you're just associated with the Fulton County Democratic Party, you're volunteering in the community for a candidate or for an advocacy organization, or, you know, doing something around getting out the vote, whatever it is, if you're in the political sector, you're considered by a high risk technology user. So, and you need to own that. You need to own you're a high risk technology user, and you need to act to protect yourself with that knowledge. So it's not Michael, it's not just me saying you're a high risk technology user, right? Google, Microsoft, Meta, all consider people in the political sector, candidates, people associated with campaigns, the family members of candidates, their friends who are, campaigns are a web of people, and it's not hard to determine who's associated. Volunteers and vendors. I would also ask, like, if you have any of you are sort of political influencers in your community, posting content, those kinds of things, content creating around the political space, you are a high risk user and you need to act on that. But we're going to show you a lot of stuff that you can do to protect yourself. So for those of you that are on campaigns, we'll kind of do a little balance here between campaign cybersecurity and protecting yourself, because there actually is kind of a gray area between some of that stuff anyway. But if you are working on campaign, if you're going to be working on a campaign, or you're a candidate or going to be a candidate, again, especially in Georgia, where we can give you free stuff. We want you to know that this is what we believe the core protection every campaign has to have. You have to protect those accounts, account security, number one. That's with passkeys or Google or Yubico Titan keys, which we can give you for free. We'll talk about Google's Advanced Protection Program, Account Guard. Protect your website with something like Cloudflare or Project Shield. We have Cloudflare for campaigns for eligible entities that was developed as a special product by Cloudflare for the campaign space. And protecting your email, either through DMARC and or some other, like Cloudflare also has an email for inbound email protection that you can implement. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those as we go through. But it all starts here. It all starts with protecting your accounts. Like I said, people are the targets, and your accounts are the number one targets you have. So you have to protect them. Now, I suspect you've all heard of multi-factor authentication, right? But do you actually know what it is? What are the factors, and how does it protect you, and how do you get it to protect you even better? So simply, MFA is something like a password or an SMS text you're given, something you have, like my device, my phone, right? My laptop, are something that I have. They're unique identifiers in those devices that that are associated with me or my accounts, maybe not with me personally, but my accounts probably with me personally too. There are things called passkeys and Google Titan keys, which I'll talk about. And YubiKeys, which I'll talk about in a second. And something that you are, a facial scan or a fingerprint. Most of you are using some kinds of combinations of these at this time. If you face scan into your iPhone, that's something that you are. If you fingerprint into your device or to a phone, that's something that you are, right? And then you're on something that you have, right? Your device. So those are the way factors are put together. But you have to understand that not all of them are equally protective. And this is really critical to understand for high risk users, right? So I think most of us understand passwords. And we've all, passwords get stolen, they get robbed, they get, guessed, whatever. People have their dog, whatever they do. They're not secure. Those annoying SMS texts are also not secure. If I've compromised your email, right? And now I go to log into a site that, and it says, well, Michael, we're going to send you a code to your email so that you can get back into your account. Well, that's not very secure, right? And there are other ways that you can steal those codes. So they're not that great. Backup codes are something you may have from like Google or another account to get back into an account. Those are pretty good because they're like one time. Once you use them, they're gone. Many of you may be using an authenticator like Authy, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. These are fairly good because they generate a temporary one-time password that you get, has a short shelf life, comes to you on your phone. And so again, you've logged into your phone, you get into the authenticator, you get the one time. Mobile push is relatively, it's actually been around for a while, but it's being used a little more broadly these days. And you may have seen this. You go to log into an account on a website, for example, and it says, hey, would you go to your phone and open the app? And you go to your phone, you open the app, and it says, are you trying to log into your account right now? Click yes, right? If you are, or no, if you're not. This is pretty good because you think about it. I have to go to my phone, log into my phone, go to the app, log into the app, and then get that screen. So that's a lot of layers and makes it hard for people to hack that. But by far, the most strongest authentication you can get and the kind that you should be using is either a FIDO security key, which is a physical key which plugs into your computer, which you touch when you try to log into an account. Not all the time, but if the circumstances are right, they'll ask you for a key to prove who you are, prove you have access, and a pass key. And pass keys are relatively new. They're free. They are a digital credential that resides on a device. So when I go to log into, say, my Gmail account and it's got a passkey attached to it, I go to my computer, I touch to get in, I go to Gmail, it looks for the passkey, it sees the passkey, it associates the passkey with me, it knows I logged into my device to get to the Google account to log in, and it lets me in without a password. So it's passwordless and it's the strongest security you can get, and it's free for everybody. Not all service providers have them, but a lot of the major ones do. Google, Microsoft, and others. I use eBay, PayPal have passkeys now. They were developed by industry to have strong authentication that was also interoperable. So they could all share a high standard. So I'm going to boil this down again and make one further recommendation. So you always want to use the strongest form of authentication that the service provider offers you. If it's a password, unfortunately, then you just have to have a long, strong, and unique one. We'll show you a password manager in a minute. You want to use a pass key where it's available or a security key. The good news is Georgia campaigns, we can give you free YubiKeys and free Google Titan keys. So we have those. They're great. One of the advantages of a key, the keys have like the equivalent of a passkey inside them. They have digital encrypted code in them, is that you can have one key and you can use it on multiple accounts, right? So the same key can be used on Facebook, can be used on X, can be used on Google, can be used on Microsoft, can be used on Dropbox, and you can register that key to multiple accounts. So you just have that strong authentication layer, and you just have it in your pocket. Then you're going to do what Betty's going to demonstrate in a second, which is you're going to turn on Google's Advanced Protection Program. Google's Advanced Protection Program is designed by Google for high-risk users. It is additional layers of protection on top of what normal consumers get that recognizes the risk you face and makes sure they understand that you've signaled to them that you're a high risk user. And it will help across their whole platform, helps in the store, helps in authentication, helps in a number of ways. And Microsoft has Account Guard, which is similar if you have a campaign that's on a Microsoft platform or an organization. If you work for an organization on a Microsoft platform, you can get Account Guard. It's their version of advanced protection. It does the same. Then what you're going to do is, once you've turned on Google's APP, we'll just use that for example, or if you have Apple, Apple's a very strong in the passkey world. They're one of the promoters of that. If you're using like the keychain and all that stuff, and you've got, really good protection there, you're going to use those credentials to log into your accounts because you're going to bring all the protection that you just created with you. So the service that you use might have a lesser form of MFA, and you can bring your Google APP with a passkey to protect yourself on that account, and no information gets shared with the other account. I mean, just your email address and your Google um, picture in your Google account if you have one in your profile. That's the only thing they share when you do this, what's called a federated login. So that's enough from that for the moment. We spend a lot of time on this because it's so important. But now I'm going to have Betty jump on and show you how to turn on Google's APP, because it's really good to see this stuff, not just hear about it. So take it away, Betty.
Thanks, Michael. So everyone should hopefully see my screen now. It is a search of Google Advanced Protection Program. So in order to enroll in or turn on Google Advanced Protection Program, the best way to get there is to actually Google Advanced Protection Program. So pretty easy so far. You want to click on the first link there, Advanced Protection Program. And then in the top right, you'll see this Get Started button. You want to click on that next and enter your credentials. And then from here, you want to follow just whatever it says on screen. It might be a little different depending on what device you have. Also, as you can see, it says create at least one passkey or security key. If you already have a passkey or security key created, you're not going to have to do anything here except click enroll in advanced protection. But I am going to create one first. So I will click create passkey again, continue. Hopefully you can see all these pop-ups. Sometimes they don't all show, but right now it's directing me to touch the designated spot on my keyboard on my laptop to create a passkey on this device. So this can be different for you depending again on what type of device you have. It might bring up a QR code to scan with your phone to create that passkey on a phone, but it is intuitive of whatever you've got. And so just if it doesn't look exactly like this when you do it, you can still just follow whatever it says. So I'm going to touch the spot as indicated. And that's it. I've created this passkey as it says. I can now use my fingerprint in my case to verify that it's really me. So that passkey is me using my finger to touch the designated spot on the keyboard. And now that my passkey is created, I can click in enroll in advanced protection. And I'm now enrolled in advanced protection. So I just want to make sure, as you can see, I don't have a recovery phone or recovery email. That's definitely something you want to do. I'll show you how to do that in a minute, but yeah, it's as easy as that. And just make sure you have that recovery info because it is strong in terms of security. And back to you, Michael.
Sorry, here, hold on. Where did my screen go? That's oh, there we go. You can see, everybody can see this, I assume.
No, Betty needs to take her screen down.
Okay, let me figure that out.
Hold on,
Uh,
I don't know if I can stop you from sharing.
Oh, wait, maybe, no, wait, hold on 1 second.
Michael,
Now you,
There we go.
yeah, it asked me if to, wait, we got it. I think we're good. Okay. So, like I mentioned before, websites are a target. I mentioned what happened with the Georgia, Secretary of State's office. We've seen state parties actually get attacked fairly frequently. They've been targets, especially at the end of 2024. One thing you should note, uh, attacks on campaigns and on the political space when it comes to the election season and the campaigning season tend to happen, close to election day or close to when voting starts, because now we have, extended voting in a lot of places. I mean, the reason for that is fairly obvious, is that that's when I can have an impact, right? Like the Secretary of State's office, it was attacked the last day of voter registration. So, all those people who are like, oh, it's the last day of voter registration and I'm going to register to vote, and then it's not available, that could actually have a pretty serious impact, right? If it was successful. So websites need to be protected. The kinds of attacks that happen are kind of two. One is, the most common is what's known as a DDoS attack, or distributed denial of service attack. This is a flood the zone attack, right? Your website sits on a host. There's a certain size pipe, not literally pipe, but electronic pipe that comes into your website. And if enough people try to get into that pipe at the same time, it takes your website down and they can't get on it, right? It's takes it down and you can't access it. So the number one thing we recommend is having good protection from DDoS. There's a couple ways to get this. Google has Project Shield for high-risk users, high-risk organizations, of which campaigns include. You can apply for that. Cloudflare is the world's largest website protection company. Any website on the planet can get Cloudflare's free DDoS protection anywhere. They'll protect any website from DDoS. If you're eligible from us, you can get Cloudflare for campaigns, which is a business level website protection, which is, a little more robust, and it comes with some other stuff. So the other thing, just to note, that the other issue that we've seen is not good credentials, not strong authentication on access to the content, content delivery, content, so if you're using like a Squarespace, or you're using a, WordPress, like, not good credentials on that allow people to get in, and then allow people maybe to get into administrator mode and do some stuff like, deface a website, put up put up stuff that shouldn't be put up. So here's an easy thing you can do. You can go to this dnschecker.com and you can actually put in any URL you want, because this is public information. And you can see here, when you go down and you pull up the record, when it says owner is Cloudflare, it doesn't mean it's Cloudflare's website, because the domain is Upwork. It means that that traffic's being routed through Cloudflare, and that website has DDoS protection. And so we do this with campaigns all the time. We look them up and check to see if they have Cloudflare or some other, because if the other thing is, if you're in like using a Wix or a Squarespace, that's actually really good DDoS protection as well. So there are other circumstances that you might already be protected. A lot of people develop in those on those systems. So anyway, this is just something that campaigns need to do. And again, if you're in Georgia campaign, we're more than happy to help you. Betty can help your campaign get on the free product. They can help you get upgraded. We can take care of all that stuff for you. So, which we're delighted to do and happy to do. And the other core protection is around email. And this, unfortunately, is the most complicated. And I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail about this, but there's a standard for basically the authentication of a domain for sending email, and it's called DMARC. And DMARC, when you have DMARC, it does two things. From a security perspective, it doesn't allow other people to impersonate you. Excuse me, you're getting a little tickly throat sometimes when I talk. So you authenticate your domain, and no one else can send emails from that domain but you. It comes in two pieces. The other piece is that you must also configure the services that you use to send email. So if it's Constant Contact, if it's MailChimp, if it's, ConvertKit, or you're using a fundraising program from a vendor, those sending domains, sometimes they're called subdomains, but those sending services and subdomains need to be demarked as well. Unfortunately, DMARC is not an easy process. You have to get it, you have to track it, you have to configure these services. So there's a free product here called valamail.com monitor. That's their monitor. And you can drop your domain. They will help you get your domain demarked. If you search, Valamail domain checker, you can throw your domain in there and see if it's DMARC compliant or not. You might, it's not uh, it's accurate, but it's hard to interpret. So we can help you interpret that. Betty can help you do that if you're doing a campaign. She can help you look at your domain and see if it's DMARCed. Now, what's happened in the last year or two is that all email, once you send it off your desktop, right, it has to go through a service to get to the recipient. And that's the people that do that are Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, and a few others. They have upped their enforcement of DMARC. So 3 years ago, if you didn't have DMARC, it probably didn't matter. Your emails were going through. Now, if you're a bulk sender, and I'll tell you what it means to be a bulk sender in a second, and you're not compliant with DMARC, they're going to start sending your email to spam or stop it altogether. So this is really critical because campaigns send a lot of emails, as we all know, maybe too many, but they spend a lot. So, and I would recommend this for everybody. However, if your campaign or organization, let's say the Fulton County Dems, has ever sent more than 5,000 emails at one time, just once, you will forever be a bulk sender in the eyes of these mail services. So if you send 5,000 once, and then for the rest of the year you send, 3,500, you're still going to be a bulk sender. So you probably need it anyway, ultimately, so you should do it. But that's just the technical definition. And just if you got to do this, just reach out for help because it's the hardest one to do. So that's kind of the campaign. Now I just want to tell you about some things, and Betty's going to show you a couple things in a minute here that are actually available to everyone, right? Like I said, you're a high-risk user. We'll start with Google first. These are free services built into the Google platform for your Google accounts, either on your, if you have a workspace account and a personal account, or if you have both. So showed you how to set up a passkey. Betty showed you how to set up a passkey. Turn on advanced protection, use those federated logins. Chrome has a password manager, which Betty's going to show you in a second. Google has a security and privacy checkup, which Betty's going to just demo for you, and the password manager as well. And then there's two services that people may not be aware of that are really quite valuable and also free. So the first one is Results About You. Now, this is especially important product for people like you all in the political space. You're out there, you're public. There's a lot of stuff on the web about you. There may be stuff you put up. There may be stuff other people put up. There may be stuff people put up that they shouldn't have put up, right? So there's a lot of stuff. If you go and turn Results About You, and I'll show you in a second where you can go to do that, it will look across the web through search for some various elements of information, like your home address and other kinds of things. And if it finds it, you can request that that Google takes it out of search. This is actually a huge step forward and very important for personal protection for people, because in the past, you would have had to go to the website where the information was on, and you'd have to ask, like, the webmaster at whatever.com, could you please take my personal phone number off your website? And good luck with that, right? If they ever even look at that email box. But Google will do it for you. So this is a really important product. It's only been around for about, I think, less than a year. The other one, and this one's the only one that's only available on your Gmail account, is dark web monitoring. So dark web monitoring goes out and looks on the dark web for information about you that's been stolen or lost in a data breach. And here you have on the right-hand side here some results from an about from a this is called, it says results with the information info, but this is a dark web monitoring report. So you can see that when I did this, my name had been lost and was in 4 places. My address, my date of birth, nowhere, which is very interesting because we give date of birth everywhere, and you assume it's kind of out there, and it's a kind of incredibly valuable piece of information to have on somebody because how many times are you asked to put in your date of birth, and that's used to sort of not authenticate you, but identify you, right? That's why social security numbers are so critical not to lose because they're identifiers, not authenticators. My address, my phone number, my email. The interesting thing here was that the uh, one of the and it tells you which data breach it was lost in, right? And one of them had just happened like 2 weeks before, and I'd never been notified of it. So it's a good product to take a look at. So I'm going to turn it back over to Betty, and she's going to show you, just take you on a little tour of some of these products.
Thanks, Michael. Let me just share my screen. Hopefully you can see this. Um, so I am going to show you a few different features of Google. The first is going to be how the password manager and how to use it, or a couple different uses for it. So I'm going to start by going to one of my online accounts. Go to Ralph's, my local grocery store. And I will click sign in here. And then because I have the password saved in my password manager, as you can see, all I'm doing is clicking within the field and my credentials are going to generate an autofill. So I've got my email address and my password being saved in here. So if I were to create a new account here, it would suggest a long, strong password that met the account's qualifications. So it would have, this amount of symbols and capital letters or whatever it's telling you to have in it, and it would make sure your password is long and strong. So that's a great feature of Chrome's password manager. It'll also auto update if I were to change my password, and it'll do all of that right here automatically. So that's just one use of the password manager. I'm also going to show you how to add it to your dashboard. So, or your toolbar it is. So I'm going to click these 3 little dots, these ellipses at the top, and I'm going to scroll down to where it says more tools. And we have these demos in our knowledge base, by the way. You don't have to memorize everything. We have a ton of individual articles and videos on all of these things. So I'm going to click Customize Chrome. And I am going to scroll down to Toolbar and I'll click on that. And then you can see your Chrome Google Password Manager. So I'll toggle that on. And if you look in the top in my toolbar, you'll see this key icon. So as I turn that on and off, you can see that key icon appear. And that means I have put my password manager in my toolbar. The password manager will work regardless of whether you put it in your toolbar, but it just makes it a little convenient to reach it. So as you can see, I'm clicking on that. It's taking me right to my password manager, and I've got my passwords in here. I can change them. I can delete them. Another great feature is this password checkup that we advise doing periodically. So I'll click check passwords, and what it's going to do is it's going to scan the passwords to see if any of them have been compromised. Any of them are being reused. So this is telling me not to reuse this password because you should, keep unique passwords for all of your online accounts. And then it'll take a look at the strength of them. So if any of them are like, as Michael said, my cat's name and my birth year, it's going to tell me I might want to make something a little longer and stronger. So that is the password checkup. There's there's 2 more checkups that I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to get out of that. And I will just start on a blank Google screen, but I'm going to click this grid icon in the top right. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to click this grid icon in the top right. I'm going to click account, and this will take me to all of my account settings. Over on the left, I'm going to click security. So because advanced protection is on, it's not going to suggest that. You can see I'm enrolled in it, but I'm going to click now, you have security recommendations. And if your account is perfect in terms of security, you won't have that. You might not see that. It'll just tell you that you're good on security. But if you do have that, you want to click on that periodically. As I mentioned earlier, you definitely want to add a recovery email and recovery phone in case you ever have any issues getting into your account. Advanced protection is on. If I didn't have that on or didn't have some type of multi-factor authentication, it would prompt me to add that here. So it would prompt me to add that pass key or security key. Here I've got my devices that I'm signed in on, so I can see everywhere I'm signed in. It's definitely good to look at that in case you're ever using different devices, or even if you're not, just to make sure there's nothing that you don't recognize or you didn't accidentally stay logged onto a computer at the library or something. Recent security activity. Yours probably isn't going to be as long as mine, but you can see I've turned advanced protection on, off. I've removed a pass key. It'll tell you everything that you've got going on there. It's definitely worth checking to see if there's any activity you don't recognize. And the password manager, this is another way to get to it. You can click there and it's the same thing that I just showed you. So that was the security checkup. One more checkup that I'm going to show you. I'm just going to click the back button because this will take me right back into my security settings, and I will show you the privacy checkup. So right above security on the left, I'm going to click data and privacy. And then right here, I'm going to click take privacy checkup. And there's a couple different features it will look at. It will look out whether I want to save my web activity. So right now I'm pausing it. I'm not saving things like my searches. You can also review YouTube history, so that's sort of the same thing, whether it's what you want to save it or not. You can personalize your ads, and you can also review what you share on YouTube. So definitely worth checking both of these security and privacy checkups right within your account settings. So I think that's it for me. Back to you, Michael. See if I can.
Thanks, Betty. Appreciate that. And for Microsoft users, just quickly here, Microsoft is a big promoter of passkeys. You can add a passkey to your Microsoft accounts. Like a lot of us are running both. Like my personal computer is a PC, so I obviously have a Microsoft account, and so I have a passkey on my Microsoft account, even though I'm using Google at the same time. It's kind of like we always forget that Google doesn't run on its own. It's either running on iOS or you're running on, Windows. Edge has a password manager. If any of you use Edge, it just operates very similarly to the Chrome one that Betty just demoed, and it could do all the same thing. They have an activity log review you can log, so you can see, you know, um, attempts to try to get into your account. I mean, it can be a little scary when you look at that, but just know that all over the internet, there are people that are probing all the time, right? They've got an email, they're just, it's like, it's like the spammers that call you on your phone, right? They're just like auto dialing, across the internet, trying to get. And then again, Account Guard, their advanced protection program, is great, and it can protect. It provides that higher level of protection, and basically, again, um, it signals to Microsoft that you consider yourself to be at higher risk, and they'll take that seriously. So we just really want you to take advantage of these things. So that was a lot of information about all these little services that we just told you. If you go to this website, oops, sorry. Gotta hit delete, not return. If you go to this website, defendcampaigns.org, hashtag protect yourself, maybe we can drop that in the chat. You will see these links, right? these links where it says learn how to set up a Google, Google's APP is directly to Google's APP, right? They're directly to the services to get them set up. And we have it both for Google and Microsoft, all these services. So, our goal is to make your life the friction make as frictionless as possible, the implementation of security. The other thing we have, Benny mentioned this before, we have a knowledge base. This is our help desk for the political sector. So all the information we talked about today, all the resources, cybersecurity by topic, there's explainer articles, excuse me, like around like what is DMARC, what is DDoS, all those things. We explain what those things are. We have either links out to the services where you can get them set up, or we have step-by-step instructions about those services so that you can get them set up. We really wanted to make it easy for you all to not have to get on the web and search for turn on Google's APP and get 9,000 articles from CNET and PC World and New York Times review and blah 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 blah. It's like, you don't have time for that. Let's cut to the chase. I know what I want to do. Let's get it done. That's what this is about. I will also just add here that because it's Georgia and because you all are eligible, there's more we can do, right? So here's our email addresses, which you're more than welcome to email us at any time. But Betty can really help you get set up. That's her job. I mean, she gets on the phones with campaigns all the time. She walks them through turning on Google's APP. She helps them figure out how to get on Cloudflare. We have other products beyond the ones that I've talked to about today that can be extremely helpful. The county party is actually eligible too, you all. So, the infrastructure of the county party is eligible for all this stuff as well. And we're more than willing to help you and help your campaigns. So if you want to organize around getting more of your campaigns secure, I don't know how many you have up in 2025, but certainly 2026 will be a very big year. We do see Georgia as, I'm preaching to the choir here, but we do see you as a high risk battleground state. You have a Senate race coming up, you have a governor's race coming up, you have you're on everybody's radar, right? Which can be good in some ways and bad from a cybersecurity risk way. So we really, we want to establish a long-term working relationship with you all and make sure that your campaigns are as secure as possible. So, let's consider this not beginning and an end, but the beginning of the beginning. We're here for you at any point. Please reach out. Betty's really easy to schedule calls with. And so we'll leave that there. And let's see, we're happy to take questions. I see a couple of, I don't know if there are questions. There's no expense for this training. We're happy to do this, and we'll do this. Well, Chantel knows because she was at the training I did in DC. Like we do this all over the place for people. I mean, that was in collaboration with the Collective Pack and also in collaboration with Google, because we do this sometimes in collaboration with Google and sometimes on our own. But I have a personal commitment, not only organizational, to make sure this message gets out. Before this job, I was the executive director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. Maybe some of you have participated in Cybersecurity Awareness Month activities. Maybe that was my old job, getting everybody in the whole country secure. So we're into this. We're full on in, yeah, just reach out. I mean, that's what I think, Chantel. We had a discussion in 2 seconds on the sidelines of that, on the margins, as they might say, of that meeting. And I said, oh yeah, we'd love to come down and do a training for you all. So please, I don't know what metro area you're thinking of, but reach out. Third-party software tools for campaigns and best practices for onboarding new cool. Oh yeah. Okay, this is a great question. Franklin asked that question. That's a great question, Franklin. It is not super easy to vet third-party tools. The DNC does vet some tools, so you could check with them to see if there are tools that, especially like campaign-specific tools, right, that may have been developed. I think, it's hard to know. What I would look for though, is that they offer some very strong form of multi-factor authentication at minimum, that they have something beyond a password to access your account and that it's easy to turn on. Um, and onboarding new tools for large teams and groups, like we don't go into all these details, in this kind of a training, but uh, since you're here and you asked a question, I'll sort of answer it this way. One thing you need to do within a campaign is create a culture of cybersecurity, right? And that means people understanding what it is you expect of them, uh, when they're on your campaign, right, or in your organization. And that can be done in a number of ways. I mean, it can be done officially through a training, getting everybody in the conference room and like, here's what you have to do. It could be done when you onboard people and say, here, I'm giving you a security key and I expect you to use it on these 10 accounts. If you have them, I expect you to use a passkey. I expect you to turn on Google's APP, right? You can create those expectations. And that's what you would do with any new tool. So if you bring a new tool in, and it's an interesting question too, because any new tool also creates risk, right? If people don't use it correctly. So you've got to make sure that when they're using a new tool, that they're using it correctly. And uh, I would also say you have to be careful about shadow IT use. So are people using tools that you didn't approve? And this has really become pertinent lately, with AI, right? Because like sorry, like Gemini and Copilot are just kind of right there, you know? Um, it's not like you need to there's not a big lift to get into a lot of these AI tools. So you need to be clear about either can people use them, or do they need to tell you when they're using them? Like, hey, I drafted that press release with, Chat GPT, right? Which might be fine, and it could be fine, but you should know about it, right? I don't know if that answers your question, Franklin. I hope it did. Uh, any other questions? Oh, if there's a breach in a login, Franklin, you got a lot of questions. If there, it's good. I like it. It's a great question, actually. So if there's a breach in a login credentials at a high, I don't know what you mean by high level. You mean like a candidate or or like the campaign finance manager or campaign manager. Um, okay, great. Yeah. So if there's a breach, right? Let's just not just the credentials, because if one of those accounts gets hacked, right, then you have like an all-out breach, and so you have to immediately, right, lock those accounts down. So that would be, you know, changing a password, adding a pass key, making sure that those accounts, however they were accessed, that access is closed, right? So you want to do that right away, right? Then you're going to have to probably evaluate whether anything got out. You're going to have to look and see if, there were emails sent out of the contact list, right? That's kind of the classic. That's a spear phishing, right? I get into Michael's account and then I send an email to all Michael's contacts because they're actually coming from Michael. And so they're more likely to click on a link or download a doc or something that's malicious, right? Because it actually came from me. That's what happened in the Trump attack on the Trump campaign, right? Last year. So lock them down, um, get everybody in the entire organization to lock them down. Depending on how significant you think the breach was, you may have to bring in some outside help. Um, and to do some forensics or to do some other analysis of what's going on. It would be good to know how that account got breached, but it's not critical. But you may need to know. And unfortunately, if it's a really big breach, meaning information was actually stolen. So like, and I don't know what the local state law is in Georgia, but if, let's just say it's a list of, 200 donors, right? And their home addresses and their emails and their phone numbers, that may require other by law, legal activity of notification and other kinds of stuff. So if it's serious, you may need legal help. Um, that's for sure. And you may need PR help so that you can get ahead of the situation. But the core of cybersecurity incident response is resilience. It's about staying up or getting back up, and keeping your operations running. So you take point of view in cybersecurity response as a continuity of operations, right? Just like you would, I guess, if you're, on the Georgia coast, you may be thinking about what would happen in a hurricane and you had to stop operations for a couple days. How would you operate if a hurricane came and everybody had to evacuate and you had to close the office, right? It's the same thing with cyber. How would you continue your operations? But on those high level accounts, Franklin, what I would say is they all definitely should have pass keys. And another issue, they should all have security keys because account recovery with a security key can sometimes be easier because I could go to another machine, log into my account, put in the security key, and get into the account pretty easily if I have a security key registered to the account. Any other questions?
I think I have one, and it's probably easier than typing it in the chat.
Go
Um,
ahead.
Realistically, um, county committees and some organizations use emails in a different way than really anticipated. So they may have an account that have multiple people using the same account, and they have different, they're logging in from different machines, um and there's always the potential for breach because it's double the person's accessing the account. And so in those cases, what are some things we should do if that's realistically what's happening?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and you're right. Shared accounts, as we call them, are very commonplace in the political world, right? Especially things like an info account, perhaps, or some other account where people have group access. So there's a couple of approaches. One is um, everybody who literally has access to that account, right, is going to have credentials to get into that account. So the strongest credential that's available. So if it's you could put a pass key on that account. Each person could, if it was like a Google account, right? Or you could require that people have keys, a security key for those accounts. That will really protect them. Plus, on the other side of that, you have to manage that access, right? So if someone was on that account for a year and then they left, you need to make sure that you take them off that account. So if it's like a workspace environment, you would go in and you would remove them from that account. You would remove their access. You have to manage, right, that a little bit. The other way you can do it, and again, it depends on the email system, but let's just say it's workspace, or I probably can do this in Microsoft as well. You could not give them the credential, and you could forward the emails that come into that email box to them. I mean, if you have 10 people on it, that might not work. But if it's like 2 people, maybe they shouldn't have access to the account. They should just get the emails that come into that account and they could respond from another account, right? If they're monitoring. So the fewer credentials, and then that credential is centralized and only like a manager or the person in charge has the credential for that account, right? The other thing, and this is sort of dovetails into that, so I'm not trying to make complicated, it's actually just a reminder. If in fact it is password access, then I would share that password through something like Signal and not through email, right? So that you're sharing it in an encrypted environment that it's going to disappear in 30 days or less. And that's a good place to share it. I don't know if that helps, Chantal, but it is a common problem.
It does. It does. Thank you. Are there any other questions? You can either put them in the chat, or if you're like me, didn't want to type all that out, you can feel free to raise your hand, because we've got the experts here and we want you to have all of the information so you can secure your emails, secure your websites, if you're working campaigns, or if you are the candidate.
This is Ralph O'Connor. I can't figure out how to raise my hand in this thing.
That's okay, Ralph. Go ahead.
So our personal voter information on the state's Jarvis, I think they call it, is the opposite of what you're saying. I can get in there and change my address if I know my name, actually first initial of my name, family name, date of birth, and driver's license. That's it. There's not even a password. So if somebody can somehow, and I assume they're on the dark web, driver's license numbers, they could go in one by one and cause havoc. So any comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, that is the conundrum of transparency and security, right? I mean, the reason that you can do that is so that you're not prohibited from going in and legitimately changing it, right? Which you may have to do for any number of reasons. And it also makes it easier for someone to change it nefariously. I don't really have a ton of suggestions there except to sign up for dark web monitoring to make sure that some of that information, that there's less of it out there, or that that it's out there. There are, and also for results about you to make sure that that information is harder to get about you. But I don't know, driver's license numbers are harder to get. I mean, that would have had to have been, a pretty serious breach somewhere. So maybe that's somewhat protective. But um, yeah, I mean, the alternative would be that every voter in the state would have to go create an account with the Secretary of State's office. And that's going to cause a whole host of nightmares, right? Too, because that's going to limit, like, just some people just aren't going to do that. I mean, it's just, there's all these follow-on effects. So I don't have a good answer for you on that one, Ralph. I apologize, but it is a conundrum. Well, if there aren't any more questions, and you can still have a moment to raise your hand here, I just want to say thank you for having us in. Like I said, Betty and I are ready to help you all in any way we can. Because you have this eligibility, you have a special place in our heart and in our agenda, and we're happy to come back. Or if you want to tell, colleagues at other county parties that they should do this kind of training, we're happy to do it for them. I don't know, if you have any campaigns. You have municipal elections, I think, right now, right? Oh, you have nonpartisan elections, right? Which always kind of baffles me. But if you know of any campaigns that you think need help, you can send them our way. And as you turn towards 2026, certainly any federal races, we want to, make sure that those federal races have everything they can. We work very closely with the DCCC. We work with them a lot. We work with the DNC a lot at the state party level about getting people secure. So we're more than well to help. And any of your other elections in Fulton County, right? That your state house or your statewide elections, we want to make sure they're secure. So let's keep in contact. You know, please feel free to reach out at any point. Maybe we'll reach back out and offer our help again at some point.
I just want to say thank you, Chantel. Thank you, Michael, for coming and for doing all of this, as well as Betty. This has been phenomenal. Your training is always informational, like great information. Really appreciate it. Chantel, I'm happy you coordinated all of this and pulled us all together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you again.
Thanks, Maria.
Yes, and I just wanted to say thank you. If I could have Michael and Betty, could I get you to drop your emails in the chat if anybody wants to contact you? We did record this training this tonight, and so we will have it posted, I think, on our YouTube channel. Because it's a resource. We want to make sure that we're getting you that information. Michael and Betty's emails are in the chat. Michael and Betty, thank you for joining us this evening and helping keep Georgia secure. With that, everyone, we're going to give you back 21 minutes of your time this evening. And just stay tuned. If you have not signed up for our listserv, please do that so you can stay up to date on important events and activities. We also have an election coming up. Our county party meeting is happening this upcoming Thursday at 7 p.m. And so we will be sending out a reminder about that election to everyone very soon. So thank you and good night.
Bye-bye.